Hey everybody, it's Medium Jenny Lee. I'm here with Runa. Say hi, Runa. She was being a bad girl this morning and trying to get into our little one's cereal bowl and milk cup, and then she was causing trouble. So she was banished to the basement, and now she's still causing trouble. Get out of here. Okay. I'm here with the next Raw Contact book discussion. We're going to be going over session 11 today, which was a fairly short one, I think. But I've also gone through and found some information from the Fingerprints of the Gods from Graham Hancock book that corroborates. Is that the right word? Corroborates. That word doesn't sound like it should be a real word. Corroborates. It corroborates with some of the information that we have come across in the raw contact. So I think, why don't we go over that first? All right. So if you thought that the raw contact book was big, wait till you see this one. Okay, so here's the raw contact. It's like 400 and some pages. Here's Fingerprints of the Gods. Look. How many pages does this book have? 578. Yeah, I read all this. Okay. All right. Here's what I found. So remember, Raw says that the cycles of the density harvesting happens every 25,000, or some kind of cycle with having to do with densities and people moving up densities or entities moving up densities happens every 25,000 years. And then the huge big shift happens every 75,000 years. So this is what I found in Graham Hancock's Fingerprints of the Gods, where he goes over a lot of details about a ton of stuff. But one of the things he talks a lot about is celestial movement. So here we go. It takes 25,776 years for the two tips of the axis, our North and South Pole, to make one full precession through all of the zodiac signs. So after 25,776 years approximately, because our Earth has a weird wobble, we'll be at the same place where we started. So to explain that again, okay, so here's a little diagram of it. Hold on. Okay, so 13,000 years ago, the North Pole pointed toward Vega, and it will do it again in 12,500 years. The North Pole today points towards Polaris, which this book is written, I think, also in the 80s. Let's go look. Oh, it came out in 1995. Okay. So our North Pole and South Pole, you know, thinking about how they line up in the heavens, we make this weird wobbly elliptical circle, and those poles will be pointing toward different places. So roughly 13,000 years ago, our North Pole was here, and it was pointing toward Vega. But because we move around in this weird little elliptical, right now, because we're in the middle of this particular celestial cycle, it's pointing toward Polaris. But when we get back around through the 25,000 some years, it'll be back here where it started. So you know, approximately around the same amount of time that Ra says that we go through one of these cycles for densities. Okay. Now, the next thing, there's another one. So that wasn't for the zodiac signs. This one's for the zodiac signs. That one was for where we're pointing, what star we're pointing to. Okay, the other one was not the zodiac signs. That was for what planet, what star we're pointing towards. North Pole, South Pole. This one is the zodiac one. There's two. And look how long it takes us to get through the zodiac signs. 25,920 years. So at present, on the vernal equinox, the sun rises due east between Pisces and Aquarius. So this is our ages. You know, we were in the age of Pisces. Now I guess now we're probably in the age of Aquarius. There's a lot of speculation about that, of when that happens. But it's based on mathematical calculations of where we are in the heavens. The effect of the precession is to cause the vernal point to be reached fractionally earlier in the orbit each year, with the result that it very gradually shifts through all 12 houses of the zodiac, spending 2,160 years in each sign. So that's roughly how long each age is. So we were roughly in the Pisces age for around 2,000 years. Interestingly enough, around 2,000 years ago is when Christianity started. And now we're moving into the age of Aquarius. So it spends 2,160 years in each sign and makes a complete circuit in 25,920 years. The direction of this precessional drift in opposition to the annual path of the sun, because, you know, we're used to the path of the sun. We go through Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, but this is different. It goes Leo, Cancer, Gemini, Taurus, Aries, Pisces, Aquarius. We were here, now we're here. To give one an example, the age of Leo, the 2,160 years during which the sun on the vernal equinox rose against the stellar background of the constellation Leo, lasted from 10,970 until 8,810 BC. So the age of Leo was in BC times. We live today in the astrological no man's land at the end of the age of Aquarius, on the threshold of the new age of Aquarius. Traditionally, these times of transition between one age and the next have been regarded as ill-omened, only because it's a time of change and transition. Very much like when someone's getting a tarot reading and the Tower shows up, or the Death card shows up, it indicates a time of change, and most people find a really hard time dealing with change. But change can be for the better. You can't have something new or different or better than it was without having some sort of breakdown of what was old. So here are two different scientific, this is what we do when our planet moves through the sky, backed up actual hard proof evidence that yes, we have 25,000 year cycles of stuff already where our North and South Pole lines up in the sky with different stars, and how long it takes us to get through all the zodiac signs. And now Ra is saying that we also have a shift in our densities. We can have a shift in our densities every 25,000 years too. It's not I'm getting chills. It's not a coincidence that all of that's the same. No. Okay. The 25,776-year cycle of precession is the engine that drives this majestic celestial juggernaut along its never-ending tour of the heavens. Yeah. Okay, so then I knew there was a lot more stuff in here that I could share that has to do with the same stuff that comes up in the Ra book. And there's probably more stuff that I could find and relate and compare and contrast and all that. But it has been a while since I've read this book. It's probably been a couple of years, at least a year and a half. So I can't retain all of that information in my head consciously. So I just kind of skimmed through and found some things that stuck out right now. There might be more things that come up, but here's one of them. So remember Ra said that they actually physically came out of quarantine and walked among the Egyptian peoples 18,000 years ago and 11,000 years ago. So, and now it makes it seem like this might be incorrect because it's 8. Does that also mean it's the 11th century BC? Now I'm confused. Let's see if I can find it real quick without having to edit this video. Looking for numbers. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it. Anyway, so either way, this popped out to me because historic archaeological data has said that in the 11th millennia BC, which made me think that about the 11th, I mean, I think it is the same without having to go back and research it again. I think it's the same. At some point between 13,000 BC and 10,000 BC, Egypt enjoyed a period of what has been described as precocious agricultural development and possibly the earliest agricultural revolution anywhere in the world. Just happens to be when Ra says they came and tried to help them again. And then, just because this is what it was talking about, could it have also been an epoch in which gods really did walk among men, as legend says? Because the legends of the Egyptians and of various different cultures in Central and South America talk about gods coming down and walking among men and helping them with stuff. And it just so happens to line up with what Ra is saying about Egypt. But it wasn't just happening in Egypt in the 11th millennia BC. It's also happening in Bolivia. They both had immense floods around the 11th millennia, and they had crazy architectural advancements that they seem to have abandoned. So Ra said they came down, they tried to help, it got distorted again, and they left. And if you're not continuously using the information, just, you know, as a human race, think about the Middle Ages. If information gets lost, it gets lost. and you have to go through it all over again to learn it all over again after generations and generations. So if Ra was here in physical form helping the Egyptians in 11,000 years ago or whatever it was, and this lines up with a historically archaeological discovery of some crazy agricultural advancements that just happened to also get lost shortly after. Makes sense to me. And also very interesting stuff. Okay, so let's get into session 11 now that we've corroborated some information. Okay, session 11. So we're going back to Maldek. So, Dawn wants to know more about Maldek's warfare. The planetary social memory complex Maldek had in common with your own sphere the situation of a mixture of energy direction. Thus it, though unknown, would most probably have been a mixed harvest. Oh, that wasn't what he was asking about. Would the entities have increased its density, go on to say the fourth and fifth density, in the negative sense or the sense of self-service? So did they evolve in self-service is what he was asking. A few moving to fourth density, a few moving to fourth density in the service to self. The great majority repeating third density. This is approximate due to the fact that the parallel possibility probability vortices cease when action occurs and new probability possibility vortices are begun. So Dawn wanted to know, if they wouldn't have destroyed themselves, would they have gone on to be self-service in the fourth density? Some would, most would have had to repeat, but they don't really know because they blew themselves up. Next question. Is there a planet behind our sun? I didn't know that that was even a thing. There is a sphere in the area opposite your sun of very, very cold nature, but large enough to skew certain statistical figures. This sphere should not properly be called a planet as it is locked in first density. So it just is a big bunch of body of rock probably and doesn't have any life forms, I don't think. But I didn't know there was something back there. All right. Are there people who go out of our present third density to places in the universe and serve, which are fourth density, self-service, or negative type of planets? Ra doesn't understand the question, so Dawn has to rephrase. Is it possible for anyone to go from third density to fourth density planet that is the self-service or negative type? In this harvest, the probability possibility vortex indicates a harvest, though small, of this type. So a very small portion of people might go on to be fourth density of a self-serving type. What happened to Hitler? Good Lord, Dawn. I guess it's 1981. World War II isn't even 40 years in the past. And Dawn is probably in his 40s. So at this point, 30s, 40s, I don't know. So this is still a very, you know, we're still talking about World War II and what Hitler did with all this craziness. But it's even more of a fresh thing in their mind. So he really wants to know what happened to Hitler. The body-mind-spirit complex known as Hitler at this time is in a healing process in the middle astral planes of your spherical force field. This entity was greatly confused, and although aware of the circumstance and change in its vibratory level associated with the secession of the chemical body complex, nevertheless needed a great deal of care. So he knew that he died, but he was still really confused, and they had to frickin' help him out and heal him. Interestingly enough, that even Hitler needed love and healing when he got to the other side. And they didn't just condemn him to some hell, right? I don't know, some people would feel otherwise about that. Right? Oh, goodness. That's a whole nother discussion. Okay. Is there anyone in our history that's commonly known in the fourth density self-service negative type, or who will, hold on a second. Is there anyone in our history that is commonly known who went to a fourth density self-service negative planet, or who will go there? The number of entities thus harvested is small. However, a few have penetrated the 8th level, which is only available from the opening up of the 7th through the 6th. Penetration into the 8th or intelligent infinity level allows a mind-body spirit complex to be harvested if it wishes to any space-time during the cycle. So a very, very small few number of entities from our planet and density cycle have made it to the 8th, which is where they enter intelligent infinity again. Like going back to the creator. A very small few, and you'll be very surprised to see who it was if you didn't read ahead in the last little bit. They're going to mention a few of them. Or the few of them. Okay, here's the few. Taras Bulba, who I had to look up who he was. He was a Ukrainian resistance fighter during World War II. Genghis Khan and Rasputin. Genghis Khan, if you're not aware, was a Mongolian conqueror who swept across all of Asia, and he conquered so many different places. And I don't think he gets talked about enough, because at one point in time, his empire was as big as the biggest empire of Rome, and possibly bigger. So that's crazy. And then if you don't know who Rasputin is, Rasputin was a mystical woo-woo guy who embedded himself in the Russian aristocracy, I believe in the late 1800s, possibly early 1900s too. So yeah. How did they accomplish this, and was it necessary for them to accomplish this? All of the aforementioned entities were aware through memory of Atlantean understandings having to do with the use of various centers of mind-body complex energy influx and attaining the gateway to the intelligent infinity. So at some point in time, all three of them were incarnated on Atlantis, and part of them remembered it, how to get there. Did this enable them to do what we refer to as magic or paranormal things while they were incarnated? This is correct. The first two entities mentioned were made little use of their abilities consciously. However, they were bent single-mindedly upon service to self, sparing no efforts and personal discipline to double, redouble, and so empower this gateway. So they were servicing self, not completely aware that they were doing it, but they were multiplying the call to this gateway. Remember, we were talking about the multiplication of the call? That's what they're doing, unconsciously. The third, so Rasputin, was a conscious adept and also spared no effort in the pursuit to service to self. So Rasputin knew what he was doing. The Taras Bulba guy and Genghis Khan did it, but didn't know they were doing it. Where are they now? These entities are in the dimension known as your fourth. Therefore, the space-time continua are not compatible. An approximate of the space-time locus, or location, of each would net no actual understanding. Each chose a fourth density planet which was dedicated to the pursuit of the understanding of the law of one through service to self. One is what you know of as the Orion group. One is in what you know as Cassiopeia. One is in what you know as the Southern Cross. However, these locations are not satisfactory. We do not have the vocabulary for the geometric calculations necessary for transfer of this understanding to you. So all three of them went back to a fourth density, even though they can access eighth density. But all three of them are in different places, spread out across the universe, but they can't really explain to us what that means. Who went to the Orion group? Genghis Khan. What's his job? The entity serves the creator in its own way. How does he do this service? It is possible for us to speak to this query, however, we use any chance we may have to reiterate the basic understanding learning that all beings serve the Creator. The one that you speak of as Genghis Khan at present is incarnate in a physical light body which has the work of disseminating material of thought control to those who are what you may call Crusaders. He's essentially a shipping clerk. So Genghis Khan went from being the ruler of all Asia to being a shipping clerk to help these Orion Crusaders, which they're going to explain what that is in a minute. And give them materials that they need for thought control. Wonderful. We're back to the scary stuff, and we're going to be in the scary stuff for a little while. But in the next session, which I just read this morning, there are some very important bits of information that I found that have to do with this kind of tug of war between the self-service group and the service to others group that will be very enlightening and helpful to understand and keep in the back of your mind. But we'll talk about that more tomorrow. For now, let's get back to these Crusaders. The Crusaders move in their chariots to conquer planetary mind-body social complexes before they reach the stage of achieving social memory. So they're trying to collect as many people as they can so that they don't become part of the social memory complex. At what stage does a planet achieve social memory? A mind-body-spirit complex becomes a social memory complex when the entire group of entities are of one orientation or seeking. The memory group lost to the individuals and the roots of the tree of mind then become known to the social complex, thus creating a social memory complex. The advantages of this complex are the relative lack of distortion in understanding of social beingness and the relative lack of distortion in pursuing the direction of seeking, for all understanding distortions are available to the entities of the society. Good Lord. What does this mean? Okay, so I'm getting really confused about the planetary social memory complex thing. And there's a part of information that is said in the next session that makes it even more confusing, that I cannot wrap my mind around and I don't understand in the slightest. So, according to this, a whole group of entities on a planet has to be oriented one way or the other, or seeking to move on to the fourth density, where they become one group of thought, referred to as a social memory complex, which is what Ra is. There's advantages of this because there's little distortion. And understanding what that means, thank God, and little distortion, and pursuing what direction to seek. Because everybody knows everybody else's thoughts. Okay, back to the Crusaders. Let's read about that. We have Crusaders from Orion coming to this planet for mind control purposes, because they're observing, because they are following the law of one, of free will. They dismantle the attitudes and they disseminate the attitudes and philosophies of their particular understanding of the law of one, which is self-service. So they contact people who are calling, and they give them information, attitudes, and philosophies for self-service, and those people become the elite. The remainder of the planetary entities are enslaved by their own free will. So, it's very interesting that this should come up, because Giant of the Frost and I were having a discussion with our friends Little Wing and Foombi. You might know them from Twitch if you've been on our Twitch stream, in my Twitch stream at any point, because they're always there. And we just had this conversation last night, and it was already starting to come up between me and Frosty. And my whole body is getting chills right now, so this means that I'm on to something important. Okay. I love America. I love the United States. I love that we're a melting pot of the world, and that people come here because they want to be something greater than they could have been where they came from. And I love that the parallel of that is also with our planet, according to this book, that entities from all over the universe come here for the same reasons, to better themselves. It's great. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. However, the culture of the United States of America is one of this elite self-service attitude, that you should work yourself to death so that you can climb a ladder, so you can have more than everybody else, and that you can be more than everybody else. And this desire to reach the top of this ladder causes many people to do awful things to others so that they can get to the top of the ladder. They'll lie, cheat, and steal to get to the top of the ladder. And that is exactly what the self-service stuff is. You need to get to the top of the ladder so that you can have X, Y, Z, and it doesn't matter what you do to get there. And our culture in our United States of America are beautiful, amazing, wonderful, full of great, amazing people from all over the place, has a culture of this elite, you know, the 1% billionaires. Not saying they're all bad, because some of them do really great things with their money and their power. And I'm sure some of them aren't of this self-service. Some of them are of the service to others because they do a lot for other people. But, and it comes up more in the next session too, And I feel like I'm putting this all together. And I hope that this is helpful for other people. And I really want to talk to Frosty about it because it's what we were talking about. And I think that he'll understand it also, but he's still asleep right now. The culture of the self-service attitude, and which is it is the culture of the United States. It is. There's no question, none, that is the culture that has permeated the United States for I don't know how long. I don't know when this started really, if it's always been that way, but it's definitely been that way all of my life and for the whole 1900s. And probably, you know, the age of industry and all that stuff, I feel like, at least. There is a distortion. This is the distortion part. There is a distortion in our culture that makes it seem like if you are part of this moving up the ladder, that you somehow are doing what is right and what you're supposed to do. But it's set up by the elite who are of no interest in helping anybody else but themselves. But there's a distortion that they are, and that by you also trying to climb up this ladder, you are also helping yourself and you're helping other people. But you're not. By having a job and being part of society and contributing to society, by having a job, whatever the job is, whether you work at McDonald's or you scrape trash off the street, or you're a teacher, or you're an accountant, it doesn't matter. You're contributing to society and you're helping others by blah, 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 and keeping the economy, blah, 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 and all this crap. And it's exactly what it is. It's effing crap. Because it's part of the self-service elite mentality where there's only ever going to be so many people at the top of the ladder. And everybody else is getting literally shit on as the main people at the top are at the ladder with their ass hanging over. This has turned into something completely different. But it's all connected. It's all related. It's all part of this self-service versus service to others. And so many people are seeing through that. But it's become a political thing. The people on this side think that this is the way it should be because that's the way it's always been. And the other people aren't any better because they're doing just as awful crap by saying that they're doing good things too. When really all it frickin' matters is to love each other and help each other and get somewhere where you can be of service to somebody else. That's all that matters, is to love yourself, is loving everybody else, and loving everybody else is loving yourself. And helping other people through their crap is going to help them ascend and become better people. And you're going to be giving them a step stool to get to the next level without forcing them to climb a frickin' ladder. Okay, rant is over. It's just stuff that has been building up, and I feel like I'm putting it together, and in the next session it'll make even more sense. It'll make even more sense. Okay, let's continue. All right. Then we have Crusaders from Orion on this planet for mind control purposes. We read that part. This right here, Little Wing was just saying that she hated comparing herself to feeling like a slave, because that was not even comparable, nor even in the same realm. But she felt like she was a slave to this freaking peon versus elite mentality. That's exactly what she was saying last night. And here it is. The elite enslave the lower entities with the illusion that it's of their own free will. Well, you can have any job you want. You can work towards whatever you want. You can climb the ladder and be one of the elite. That's horse shit. It's horse shit, people. The elite, maybe many of them, probably through no fault of their own, without even being conscious of it, are keeping everybody else at the bottom of the goddamn ladder. Okay, I'm done. I thought the rant was over. Can you name any of the recipients of the Crusaders today? No, that's a violation of free will. And it could, and by giving names, it infringes upon it. This free will. Which is fine. We shall not interfere with this, shall we say, planetary game. It's not central to the harvest. So, yeah, they can't tell us anything. And that's exactly what this is. It's a freaking game. I've been feeling like that for a long time. I feel like we're just playing a game of Monopoly. All right. How do the Crusaders pass on these concepts to the incarnate individuals on Earth? There are those whose mind-body-spirit complex is upon your plane, who do exercises and perform disciplines in order to seek contact with sources of information and power leading to the opening of the gate to the intelligent infinity. So there's people consciously or unconsciously wanting to know how to get to the intelligent infinity. There are others whose vibratory complex is such that the gateway is open in contact with total service to self, with its primal distortion of manipulation of others, is then afforded with little or no difficulty, no training, and no control. There's other people that are just open to the self-service, and they're getting all the information and the stuff that's helping them manipulate others. And they don't even know it. What type of information is passed on from the Crusaders to these people? Various means of control or manipulation of others to the service of the self. How to control and manipulate others. I could probably come up with a huge, gigantic list of ways that our society controls and manipulates us. And it's through this power of the elite. And through this concept that things have to be this way, because they've always been this way, which is not true. Okay. Do you mean that some scientists have received technological information telepathically for gadgetry? Yes. Their orientation of so-called scientists have received information intended to unlock peaceful means of progression, which redounded unto the last echoes of potential destruction due to further reception of other scientists of a negative orientation distortion. So some scientists made stuff that was for self-service and for bad stuff, and other scientists got information to help them fix it. And then Don asks, is that how we learned about nuclear energy? Was it mixed of negative and positive? Yes. Scientists were overwhelmingly positive, but there was one that was extremely negative. Is the extremely negative entity still incarnate in Earth in 1981? Correct. We could probably figure out who that was, right? Who's the really evil person who was dealing with nuclear information? I bet he was a German. I don't know. He might have been working for Hitler, even if he wasn't a German. Probably. Okay, somebody knows. Somebody knows. All right, then we can assume you can't name him. So, would ask where Nikola Tesla got his information. The one known as Nikola Tesla received information from Confederate sources for aiding, shall we say, angelically positive entity in bettering the existence of his fellow mind-body-spirit complexes. It's unfortunate, shall we say, that like many wanderers, there's that word again, the vibratory distortions of third density illusion cause this entity become extremely distorted in his perceptions of its fellow mind-body-spirit complexes, so that its mission was hindered and the result perverted from its purposes. In the next session, Ra goes over more about what a wanderer is, and it blew my mind, but I don't want to go over it yet because it's not in this session. But basically, and I've said the word basically so many freaking times, I don't even know what other word to use. I looked up synonyms for basically and I didn't like any of them. The gist of this is Nikola Tesla was a positive, kind of angelic entity who came to the earth for the purposes of helping others. But because of just being in a third density illusion, his mission got distorted. His mission was distorted. His idea and perceptions of other people was distorted. And it kept him from doing what he really wanted to do and what he really came here to do. How was Tesla's work supposed to benefit Earth? It attempted to give the planet the infinite energy of the planetary sphere for use in lighting and power. And Don's like, what do you mean? And they're like, literal darkness. Literal darkness. So, what does that mean? There was no need to find the necessary payment or money for energy. So nobody was going to have to pay for energy. And we figured that out now. I mean, if you know anything about Nikola Tesla, he figured out how to give people electricity and power without, it would just be free. Like everybody would have access to it. And of course, the elite got a hold of it, and that'll never come to light now, probably. All right. Secondly, it would give people leisure time to focus on their self and searching the law of one. So by not, oh God, this is like, it's exactly what we were talking about last night. This is exactly what we were talking about last night. It's more of what we were talking about last night. More time for yourself. Few there are working physically from daybreak to darkness, as you name them, upon your plane, who can contemplate the law of one in a conscious fashion. This is more of what we were talking about last night, our conversation. It's freaking exactly what we were talking about. You have to have a job. You have to have a job that you work for X number of hours every day and X number of hours every night. And when you are done with it, you are so completely exhausted that you have no time for yourself to be healthy mentally, physically, or spiritually. And this is how we are being controlled and enslaved. All of us that are in this third dimension illusion of what we think that we need to frickin' do, that's exactly it. And Nikola Tesla came to Earth to give us free energy so that we would be able to have more leisure time to heal and keep ourselves healthy, our mind, body, and spirits, so that we could focus on ascending the whole planetary structure of this planet into the next density. And it got thwarted. It got thwarted. It got messed up. It got hijacked. It got taken over. And we didn't get what he came here to give us. And we're still enslaved in this frickin' chaos of mess that makes us feel like we have to do this, that we have to give all of our time and energy to somebody else, to something else, so that we can have money to survive. That's the illusion. That is the distortion. That is the distortion of the self-service. Wow. I'm not doing it anymore. I had already made the choice. This is a personal part of this. I had already made the choice. I'm gonna start crying. Okay. I had already made the choice within the last month or so that when the end of this school year comes, I am not signing my contract again. I'm not going to be a part of this anymore. And I felt this overwhelming sense of like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And I need to focus on what I'm trying to do here with all of this spiritual stuff. Somebody's trying to help me through this. I can feel them. Thank you. I'm told I have to hold on to something here. I'm gonna use cinnabarite and gem silica. I need some energy. Okay. Oh, and my pink calcite. I love that one. Okay. It all makes so much more sense. I can't even begin to. I'm having a hard time putting it into words. Because I thought that I didn't want to be a teacher anymore. One, because it's a super hard job, and I love my students. If any of my students ever come across this video, know that I didn't. I'm not choosing to leave because of you. My students are the reason why I wanted to be a teacher, why I wanted to stay, and part of me still does. Because what I do as a teacher helps people. They've made it so hard to do that. You have to jump through so many hoops. There's so much red tape. And this self-service elite mentality is making it that so that being a teacher has become some sort of evilness. They've distorted it to the point where people are starting to think that we're like these awful people that are like trying to groom children for sex or some stupid shit, and it's insanity. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I want to talk about is that I felt like I didn't want to be a teacher anymore because it's hard as hell. It takes up too much of my time. And I want to focus on working with doing my spiritual work. Like, I felt like it's time for me to shift out of it into doing spiritual work. And I felt like it was really just that. that it was just me wanting to do something else in a different way that helps people in a different way. But there is so much more to it. There is such a bigger picture here. And now I get it. I'm not just saying that I don't want to be a teacher anymore because I want to do the spiritual work. It's me saying I'm not going to be a part of your... I'm trying not to cuss so much. I'm not going to be a part of your effing self-service construct of what you think that everybody should be doing. And my friend Charity figured this out years ago. And I wonder if she even realizes that that's part of it. Charity, did you know that it's not just this individual thing, that it has to do with the whole, which everything does, but it has to do with self-service versus service for others. You can't help other people in the service of others if you're having to frickin' be in this rat race of craziness that the people, the elite of the self-service, have been placed upon everybody. And it's just an illusion. It's just an illusion. And that is what happened with the pandemic. 2020 came, it let everybody see what happened. Oh my God. I already had been thinking about this and felt it. I know a lot of people did, but to a different extent that I did not understand until just now. 2020 happened, the pandemic happened, everybody had to go into isolation, and they finally had time for themselves. This is part of our conversation we had last night too. Everybody had leisure time to do to wake up when they wanted to do what they wanted to do, to think for themselves, to find some sort of peace, to frickin' just be and not feel like they're having to spend all their time doing something else that they don't even want to do anyway. And look what happened. So many people said F you to the damn self-service world. And people aren't going back to their jobs, and people don't want to go back into a building. They want to be able to do their jobs from home because they realize they can do it from home. And like Little Wing said last night, we were having our conversation, they can work from home and have a decent meal at home and not have to spend money on food at a McDonald's for lunch, and they don't have to drive 45 minutes to an hour to their job. They can get up later, they can get more sleep, they can have better food, they can be in their own environment and still do the job that's part of the rat race. And some people decided they don't want to do what they were doing before. Me included. And it's all part of this way bigger picture that I never even thought of until just now. I can't do the self-service work I can't do the service to others work in the self-service world. I knew that I couldn't do this spiritual work with the amount of hours it required me to be a teacher. But I literally cannot do the service to others work in the service to self environment because of the distortion of the illusion. Thank you, Ra. I'm starting to get your words down here. I can't really do, because I've clearly helped a ton of students over my 7 years of teaching. I know that I have. I know that I've helped a lot of students over my 7 years of teaching. that was service to others and not service to self. But being part of the distortion of the illusion in the self-service environment is not allowing me to help as many people in a much stronger way of what I can do if I'm only working in the service to others environment. Period. Done. End of discussion. Screw your contract in March. Last night when we were having this discussion, I for a few seconds was like, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? Am I really going to give up a paycheck and insurance and blah 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 and blah, and the fear set in, and I was like, am I really going to? And this morning, hell yeah, I'm going to, because it's frickin' illusion, and the universe will provide for everything that I need, and I can manifest what I want. Period. Without your horrible crap that you've enslaved upon us. I thought this one was gonna be short. This one is the longest one yet. We're almost done with the session. Okay. So here are my stones. I had to get my stones out. Oh my God. Okay, thank you, little stones. Thank you for working with me here. Okay. Final question. Wanders incarnated. Okay, what's the question? What's the final question? What about the Industrial Revolution, which I was just talking about? Was this planned? Wanderers incarnated in several waves, as you may call them, in order to begin to bring into existence the gradual freeing from the demands of diurnal cycles and lack of freedom of leisure. What does that word mean? Let's look it up, because I don't know what that means. Come on, Google, you can do it. D-I-U-R-N-A-L. What does this mean? Of or during the day, daily or each day. Oh, yeah. That's what we're talking about. Daily or each day, or during the day. Ooh, Frosty's gonna really like that. Okay. So a bunch of wanderers, remember that's going to be explained better in the next session, incarnated so that they could bring about electricity and stuff so that we could not just work during the day and we would have more leisure time. Thank you, wanderers. All right. Can we make the instrument more comfortable? What can we do for Carla? Make sure the symbols are carefully aligned. You can ask one more short question. So we can save, okay, but why are the Crusaders from Orion doing what? Hold on. I was trying not to read the whole thing and then I just keep messing it up. I don't know if this is a short question or not, but we can save it till next time. But my only question is why the Crusaders from Orion do this. What is their ultimate objective? The service to self is to serve, this, oh God, I've been talking too long, I can't talk anymore. To serve the self is to serve all. The service of the self, when seen in this perspective, requires an ever-expanding use of the energies of others for manipulation to the benefit of the self with distortion towards power. So this is, we still have to understand and be accepting of the fact that when people are serving themselves, they're still serving all. But in order to do it, they have to manipulate others so that they can have power, and I just can't see that as a good thing. Which, you know, Ra said, by serving yourself, you're also serving others because we're all one. But that it can get distorted and it falls apart quicklier. Quicklier? Is that a word? It should be now. Quicklier. I apologize for this one being extraordinarily long, but as you can see, there were some huge revelations made, and I really can't wait to share this one so that others can understand, hopefully, in a better way. And by no means am I giving the advice to quit your job and go do something else, but in some ways I am. But that's something that every individual has to discover and understand and do for themselves. You know, I can't tell you what to do. I'm just here to teach, learn. Thanks, Raw. Okay, this one's long enough. I'll see you guys later with the next session, which has some even more interesting bits. All right. Love you. Bye.